Highway to Meh. If you've never tried reasoning with a human who believes their latest idea is pure genius, let me assure you it's about as fruitful as teaching quantum physics to a gerbil. My human Emma has decided that after a few days in Paris, yes, Paris, the gleaming city of overpriced pastries, existential sighs, and artful sneers, it's time to truly explore Europe. Apparently, sipping coffee by the Seine and nibbling croissants that cost more than my monthly ration of gourmet kibble isn't authentic enough. She yearns for adventure, a term she wields as if it justifies everything from bad haircuts to reckless purchases. How will she achieve this grand authenticity? By caravan. Yes, a caravan. Picture a cramped metal box on wheels marketed as freedom. Hotels, trains, and charming apartments are too ordinary for Emma. She imagines herself a bold explorer, unshackled from schedules and stale convenience. I, however, am just her cat, Fluffy. Unfortunately gifted with perfect comprehension of human speech, yet limited to meows and purrs. If I could talk, I'd gently suggest that if she's having a midlife crisis, she should at least choose a stylish motorcycle or a fashionable artistic retreat in Berlin. But here we are, standing in a dusty caravan dealership on the outskirts of Paris, surrounded by gleaming aluminum boxes and stale hopes. Emma hums a tune off-key enough to scare crows. "Oh, Fluffy," she coos, "soon we'll roam the open road." She envisions rolling hills, hidden villages, and poetic sunsets. I picture potholes, confused detours, and questionable roadside snacks. But I keep quiet. A salesman materializes, drawn by her wide-eyed optimism. He's got slicked-back hair, a blinding tie, and a grin that would make a used car dealer proud. "Bonjour! Looking for a caravan?" Emma nods eagerly. "Not too big or expensive," she says, "just right for me and my cat." He glances at me, failing to hide mild disdain. Pets don't sign checks. We tour 3 caravans. The first is a 1970s reject, peeling paint, mouldy smell, and the aura of broken dreams. Emma tries to be polite, but her forced smile makes it clear she'd rather eat stale bread than sleep here. The second is absurdly luxurious, velvet cushions, stainless steel fixtures, and a price tag that might rival a Parisian flat. Emma's tempted but practical. She admits she doesn't need so much opulence just to rattle along foreign roads. Finally, we reach a mid-range caravan, bland but functional. Beige interior, small kitchenette, a tiny seating area that folds into a bed. It's the definition of average. Emma brightens. It's within her budget, lacks obvious mould, and won't require selling her organs. If I could speak, I'd say, this place is as exciting as unsalted crackers, but at least it won't kill us. Emma finalizes the paperwork, glowing with satisfaction. The salesman waves goodbye, relieved to be rid of us. Soon we're puttering away from the dealership, the caravan rattling behind Emma's car. As we leave Paris's fringes, she chimes, "We're free." The irony amuses me. We're tethered to a metal box that demands fuel, navigation, and mechanical mercy. But Emma is too delighted to notice. She imagines fields of lavender, charming roadside cafes, and friendly locals. I imagine muddy campsites, strange smells, and Emma struggling with a map while I watch from my perch, unimpressed but curious. Hours pass. The scenery softens into gentle countryside, the sky tinted with evening hues. Emma finally hunts for a place to park, muttering about a quaint spot. After some navigation mishaps, she pulls into a modest rest area with a few scraggly trees and a handful of other travellers. She fusses over levelling the caravan, then steps inside, beaming as if we've conquered Everest. "We'll find fresh bread and cheese tomorrow, Fluffy," she says, checking the empty fridge. She's romanticizing the mundane. If she had her way, every crumb of baguette would be a grand discovery. I hop onto the makeshift bed, sniffing the upholstery. It's not luxurious, but it's not horrific either. Emma pulls out a guidebook, flipping through pages with starry eyes. She's picturing pastoral scenes, secret bakeries, and heartfelt conversations with strangers who will surely offer her homemade wine. I know reality might disappoint her. Maybe the bread will be stale, the roads confusing, and the weather fickle. But I must admit, there's a certain charm in watching a human cling to optimism. If nothing else, it's entertaining. Outside, distant headlights illuminate the strange new landscape. Inside, we bask in the caravan's soft glow. Emma settles in for the night, whispering, "Isn't this lovely, Fluffy?" I half close my eyes, letting her assume I agree. In truth, we're on the highway to Meh, a mediocre middle ground between excitement and disaster. And yet, The unknown beckons. Maybe tomorrow will bring surprises. Maybe we'll break down in front of a hidden cheese shop that'll redefine my opinion of humans. For now, I drift off to sleep, lulled by the caravan's gentle sway and Emma's hopeful breathing. Morning arrives with a pale light filtering through the caravan windows. Emma wakes first, eager to prove sunrise is a personal blessing. She steps outside, breathing in crisp air, while I lounge on the windowsill, pretending indifference. "Good morning, Fluffy," she says, returning inside. "Let's get supplies, bread, cheese, fresh fruit." She's giddy as a schoolgirl on a field trip. I privately doubt we'll feast like royalty, but let her dream. We set off again, leaving behind the rest area. The landscape glides from industrial outskirts to rolling green fields punctuated by sleepy villages. Emma slows at signs she barely understands, attempting French phrases that wobble off her tongue. She's trying so hard to be a worldly traveller. I almost admire her for it. Around midday, we find a tiny market by a dusty road. A few stalls, local produce, a dog sleeping near apples, humble simplicity at its finest. Emma buys bread, cheese, grapes, and something resembling cider. She shows me the cheese proudly, as if we've struck gold. Back in the caravan, she arranges our lunch and savours each bite as though it's a gourmet feast. She's embracing the idea that ordinary moments can feel extraordinary. I just hope she remembered cat food. After lunch, we drive on without a fixed destination. Fields of sunflowers nod lazily. The caravan rattles occasionally, reminding us we're travelling in a tin box. Despite it all, Emma relaxes. She's not checking her phone or worrying about schedules. She's present, letting scenery unfold on its own terms. By late afternoon, we reach a lakeside campground. There are ducks drifting peacefully, a few tents, and a quiet hush over the water. Emma seems enchanted. She adjusts the caravan's supports with comical determination, then sits outside, sipping cider and watching the sky flare orange and purple. I sniff around, discovering new smells: earth, wildflowers, dirt, wood smoke. Emma, for once, is not racing to the next thing. She's content to sit, breathe, and exist. Night falls gently, and she flips through her guidebook again, muttering about places we might see. When light rain taps the roof, she smiles. "It's soothing," she says. I'd expected a complaint, but no, her optimism persists. The next morning she realizes our fridge is mostly cheese and fruit. "We need coffee," she declares. Soon we're off again, seeking local coffee as if it's the Holy Grail. She finds a cafe in a small town, sips her coffee outdoors, and sighs in delight. Maybe it's just ordinary coffee, but to Emma, it's proof of a richer life unfolding. We continue, sometimes following roads Emma guesses might lead somewhere interesting. When her phone's map fails, she spreads out a paper map and squints at squiggly lines. She laughs at herself, declaring this old-fashioned navigation part of the adventure. I watch with detached amusement. Humans love to romanticize challenges, turning inconveniences into grand epics. Let her have it. Over the following days, a pattern emerges. Emma drives aimlessly, stopping whenever something catches her eye. A local festival, a scenic overlook, a roadside orchard. We meet fellow travelers at campsites. They swap stories, tips, and nods of understanding. Emma, no longer shy, chats eagerly, jotting notes in a small journal. She's learning from others who've embraced life beyond predictable routines. Sure, we hit snags, a blown fuse making the caravan lights flicker, a wrong turn leading to a bumpy gravel path, rain trapping us inside with stale reading material. But none of this crushes Emma's spirit. Each minor mishap becomes a story to tell later. She's discovering that perfection is overrated, that some of the best memories arise from unexpected turns and small triumphs over inconvenience. One evening, parked near a field humming with crickets, Emma sits beside me and sighs happily. "I think I understand now," she says softly. "It's not about finding the perfect place or having every comfort. It's about the freedom to make mistakes, to take a wrong road and discover something unplanned." I meet her gaze, silently acknowledging her growth. She left Paris searching for authenticity, and now she's realizing authenticity thrives in imperfection and uncertainty. As days turn to a week, we drift farther from familiar ground. Emma tries cooking simple meals on the tiny stove, sometimes succeeding, sometimes not. She might cross a border soon. Who knows which country we'll end up in? The point is, she's embracing the unknown. Even a terrible cup of roadside coffee is greeted with a shrug and a smile. At least we tried. In silence, I learn that humans crave narratives. Emma will return home one day, telling stories of getting lost, tasting local treats, meeting kind strangers, and laughing at her own confusion. She came seeking grand revelations, but she's found something subtler. The art of letting go, of enjoying quiet evenings by lakes or fields, of understanding that life doesn't need to be grand to be meaningful. Eventually, as twilight settles in again, Emma sets her guidebook aside. She looks at me and whispers, "Good night, Fluffy." I close my eyes, content to play the silent observer of her transformation. We roll onward through landscapes unnamed, drifting where whim takes us. The caravan that once seemed a metal compromise now symbolizes the liberty to roam without rigid plans. We're still traveling along the highway to Meh, but now I see that Meh isn't dullness. It's the space where real life unfolds without a script. Emma has learned to cherish that space, and I've learned to appreciate her earnest, hopeful spirit. We have no grand destination, and that's all right. Here in this moving sanctuary of moderate expectations, we find a quiet fulfillment. We're on the highway to nowhere in particular, and somehow that's exactly where we need to be. A perfect detour. Morning slithers into the caravan with thin rays of hazy light, like a half-hearted attempt at ambience lighting in a cheap nightclub. I, Fluffy, the unwilling sidekick in this rolling comedy of errors, wake up sprawled atop a stack of half-folded maps and crumbs from Emma's midnight snack. She snores softly on the makeshift bed. For a moment, I consider batting a balled-up receipt into her ear just to watch her flail. But I'm feeling benevolent. For now. Emma eventually stirs, stretches, and looks around with that dazed hopefulness she's been sporting ever since we left Paris behind. She's got it in her head that life on the road is some grand adventure. Truth is, I've seen fancier litter boxes than some of the picturesque spots we've parked in. Still, she's cheerful, and I'm an opportunist. Happy human means more treats. I can play the long game. "Good morning, Fluffy," she chirps, as if I'm about to break into a musical number. Let's see what today brings. I roll onto my back, exposing my belly. A tactical move. She gives me a scratch behind the ears. She thinks I'm adorable, blissfully unaware that I'd sell her secrets to the highest bidder for a chunk of salmon. We hit the road again, rattling along in our tin can. Outside, the scenery shifts between rolling hills, distant wind turbines, and the kind of small European villages that make you wonder if everyone here moonlights as an extra in a Wes Anderson film. Emma fiddles with the radio. Static, static. A snippet of polka, static, and then something that sounds like a French DJ reading wine labels. She sighs and turns it off. "We'll just enjoy the silence," she says. Sure, silence. Perfect time for me to practice my stand-up routine internally. The caravan shudders over a pothole the size of Elon Musk's ego. Emma winces. "Ouch," she says, glancing my way. I stare back, unamused. The jolt knocked over my water dish, spilling it onto a map of some scenic route Emma was eyeing. Let's call it performance art. Maybe now she'll realize not all adventures are curated Instagram moments. Besides, who needs navigation when we can just wander around like contestants on The Amazing Race, minus the camera crew and prize money? We stop for supplies at a tiny roadside shop that looks like it was decorated by someone who lost a bet. Plastic flowers, dusty postcards, and a cashier who greets us with a scowl so deep it could hold rainwater. Emma tries her best broken French to buy bread and local cheese. I watch from the caravan window. A stray cat rubs against a crate outside. I'm tempted to hiss, "Beat it, amateur," but I settle for flicking my tail. No free rides here, buddy. I'm the resident feline, thank you very much. Back inside, Emma unwraps the cheese. It smells like old gym socks fermented in a crypt, but she's swooning. "Real local flavors, Fluffy," she beams. I wrinkle my nose. I've coughed up hairballs with more appealing aromas. Still, she seems happy. I hop onto the table, knock a grape off the edge with a delicate paw and watch it bounce onto the floor. Emma sighs but smiles. She thinks I'm being playful. Honestly, I'm just bored. On the road again, we pass a sign for a historic castle. Emma gasps like she's just won the lottery. "Let's go there," she says, turning down a narrow lane flanked by trees. The castle might be grand, or it might be a ruin that a few pigeons call home. Either way, I'm betting on something anticlimactic. That's the secret of this journey. Set low expectations. Never be disappointed. In fact, I should embroider that on a pillow. Highway to Meh. Set low, never blow. The caravan bumps along as Emma hums some tune. The castle emerges behind a hill, a mossy old thing that looks like it's auditioning for a gothic horror film. Emma parks, and we approach on foot. She tries to chat with a security guard who responds with a shrug and a mutter that sounds like "non." I snicker silently. Humans are so cute when they're baffled. Emma, undeterred, strolls around the perimeter, taking in the view. I take the opportunity to leap onto a low wall. From here I can survey the kingdom. Fields, a distant farmhouse, and a row of sheep who stare at me with blank intensity. I meow, they ignore me. Typical. Emma snaps some photos, probably going to post them online with a caption like, "Living my best caravan life." Meanwhile, I'm contemplating pushing a loose rock off the wall just to see if it startles her. But that might cross a line. Instead, I casually sharpen my claws on a bit of mossy stone. Emma gives me a fond look. "You like it here, Fluffy?" she asks. If she only knew my commentary. Yes, darling, I love scratching centuries-old architecture in the middle of nowhere. I feel so enriched. Back at the caravan, Emma decides to attempt a hot meal. She fires up the tiny stove, basically a glorified Bunsen burner, and sets a pot of water to boil. I hop onto the narrow counter, sniffing suspiciously. She's planning to make pasta, but with what sauce? I saw no sauce, just cheese that smells like regret and a tomato that's seen better days. I knock a fork onto the floor. She picks it up and laughs. "You're restless today, Fluffy." Restless is one word. Trying to inject some drama into this snooze fest is another. The pasta turns out edible but bland. Emma pretends it's Michelin star quality, humming happily as she eats. I get my standard kibble. She forgot again to buy something fancier. Maybe next time I'll conspicuously pour at a gourmet cat food display until she gets the hint. I hop off the counter and make a show of chasing a dust bunny across the floor. Emma claps. Humans are so easily entertained. As dusk falls, Emma sets up a folding chair outside facing a field. She sips cider, reading a pamphlet about local fairs and festivals. Apparently, there's a nearby village holding a snail racing contest tomorrow. Yes, snail racing. Because nothing says thrilling cultural experience like watching mollusks do their best impression of paint drying. I flop onto her lap, purring dramatically. She strokes my fur and laughs. "Maybe we'll check it out," she says. Great, another highlight for our travel memoir. I came, I saw, I watched snails crawl. The night air cools, and I slip back inside the caravan while Emma lingers outside. On a shelf, I spot a small plush toy she picked up somewhere. A tiny Eiffel Tower keychain dangles from it, mocking me with its Parisian snobbery. I bat the toy off the shelf, watch it bounce on the floor, then spring onto a cushion and curl up. I consider the day's accomplishments. I spilled water on her map, knocked a grape off the table, dropped a fork, and generally reminded Emma that perfection is a myth. Good day's work. Emma eventually comes in, a contented glow on her face. She sets down her pamphlet and hums quietly. She rummages through a drawer, pulls out a blanket and arranges it on the bed. "Good night, Fluffy," she says softly, flicking off the main light. I watch her in the dim glow of the caravan's tiny reading lamp. She's holding on to her dreams of adventure with the tenacity of a bargain hunter at a Black Friday sale. I admire that, in my own skeptical feline way. As she drifts off, I'm left alone with my thoughts. The journey rolls on. We're adrift in Europe's backroads, chasing authenticity and tripping over reality. I've seen Emma adapt, laugh at misfortunes, and embrace the weirdness of it all. Who knew a human could find joy in stale bread and random detours? For my part, I'll keep needling her with tiny inconveniences. Keeps me amused and keeps her humble. Tomorrow, we might see snail races, or get lost trying to find them, or break down near a cow pasture. Whatever happens, I'll be here, an observer with a sarcastic streak, a cat who understands every word but says nothing coherent in return. Because honestly, the silence makes my commentary all the sharper. I close my eyes, tail twitching slightly. We're still on the highway to Meh, cruising through the unknown. And you know what? Meh never felt so, well, entertaining.